So yes, Account Showcase. Yeah, you had sent me some items. So first off, yeah, congrats. I mean, that's an awesome recognition for sure. I
Thank you,
mean,
appreciate it. Yeah, I was actually on the phone with Sean this morning.
you are awesome. I was just gonna
It's funny,
say,
so Sean reached out and obviously you reached out and you both picked random days and times and they both happened to be on the same day. That's crazy.
yeah, so my role here, you know much about Entigrity?
Not much, just like I did some research, but
Oh,
I'd be
yeah.
happy if you want to share some stuff.
We have become one of the top, if not the top player out in India as far as working with American firms and providing them dedicated staff, right? So what we do is have the infrastructure and the boots on the ground aspect per se. So they don't need to go to India. They don't need to find offices. They don't need to find the talent. And then we remove the HR aspect. They don't need to worry about payroll, taxes, benefits, salaries. That's us. Now, being a dedicated staffing model, the client has all the control. So now they need to come to us and identify the role, right? They get to interview, pick, onboard, and they conceptually will always treat them like it is their own staff. They contract and pay Entigrity. So they don't have to worry about any of the HR aspect or compliances, regulations. It's all us. So our model is more of a personal relationship where these folks will work directly for them under their control and utilizing their platform and systems and workflows. So we've built a team. It's an 8-year-old company. I've been with them 5 years. We built a team of over 2,200 at this point. So that's what we do. And yeah, Sean has been, I think, nominated and twice for this award because he's always, when the pandemic happened, I mean, nothing changed for our business. I just sat, I do the first initial call for the company, and then it gets handed off if they engage us to the operations team in India. And yeah, nothing changed, and we were primed and ready for this type of unfortunate event, but we were already having staff in place for their remote. And then you kind of push the profession into it's okay to hire remote, and then realizing there's no one to hire remotely, and they start looking offshore, and we were already ready. So
That's amazing.
It's been a wild ride for sure. But yeah, I report directly to Sean, and he the reason why I'm here for 5 years is him. Yeah, he when you're working with somebody in another country, you have to build and earn the trust, and that took years. And but once he finally trusted me and I finally trusted him, I mean, we have just taken this company to a whole new ceiling at this point, and it's just like, what else can we do, right? And so it's believing and understanding the vision of someone and diving in head first and just let's do it. High risk, high reward opportunity, but at this point, it's just all reward. So enough about us. Let's talk about you, because what we want to do is have we want to make the profession here looked at a more positive light. So that's why you coming on, talking about your career, your experiences, your nonprofit too, is that the profession it's just like tax season and deadlines and overworked, and I don't want to do that. And it's a new millennial workforce, and so it's all about them, and it's not about us per se. And so you have to kind of adapt to that, but at the same time, profession kind of needs an overhaul in the image. And so doing this and talking about your experiences, it's the whole idea of what we're trying to do.
No, that's awesome. And I mean, the AICPA does a good job of doing that too, because my dad was a past chair of the AICPA in 2009. I remember when they do like the magazine shoot for the new chair, they usually do it in a non-suit. So like I know Greg Anton was the chair. He did it with he loves mountain biking. So he had his bike on his shoulder. There's been people surfing because they're trying to get away from that. They're trying to get you as to who are you beyond the CPA? Because that's what most people say. They're like, oh, they're just a bunch of tax people. And, they sit in their cubicles and it's like, we are so much more than that. We just need to do a better job of branding ourselves because we don't do a great job of doing that.
Exactly. Spot on. So how did you get started? You said that this has always been part of the family, right? Everyone's been working in accounting.
Yeah, my dad has been in accounting, obviously. My mom worked in an accounting firm as a secretary for over 20 years. My older brother worked for the AICPA doing all their external communications, internal communications. He is now with the Internal Auditors Association. And then the next two, I'm one of 5 boys. So the next 2 boys, they worked at KPMG. They have both left and are in private now. And then the youngest one is a mechanical engineer. So the whole family's pretty much in the accounting world except for one. And we were all in public and now have all transitioned out of public into private.
What did you most like about when you started working in accounting? What did you least like about when you first started working in accounting?
Yeah, when so I grew up in an accounting household, right? So it was a little weird. We would do math problems before we left the dinner table. So it was kind of like, what are you gonna do with your life? And you see the stability and the way of living and the job market, and you see what your parents do. And so typically most people will either do exactly what their parents do, or they do the complete opposite because they realize that like the way that they brought up wasn't something that they want and they want to change it. So for us, it was just kind of like we started young. My dad would always do stock market competitions. We did the math problems before we left the dinner table. We would do savings. So we got an allowance if we did chores. At the end of the year, he would double your savings. Anything that you put into savings, he'd write you a check at the end of the year. We would all spend the money. We'd all have to sit there for like the check presentation for that one knucklehead brother that kind of like saved all his money. So it's just a household that I kind of brought up in. And I mean, just when you're kind of in that, it's just ingrained. I always thought I'd be a partner in a public accounting firm. And then the more I got into it, the different firms that I went to, I realized that it just wasn't for me anymore. The way that the industry is working, the way that it's going, I either needed to create my own accounting firm and flip the model upside down, or I needed to leave. And I was married, I had 2 young kids. So the risk factor, it was just easier to kind of just have that conversation of what the private world looked like. Whereas before, I just always thought I'd be a partner.
So then your role has evolved, right? So and it's evolved so much to where you recently started a nonprofit too, right? Can you talk about kind of now that this is ingrained, it's account for life type of situation. So how has that, so now that you're working in accounting, how has that evolved?
Yeah, so the nonprofit's called Fountainhead, Rhode Island. All over social media, the website. Really, it was like I couldn't sleep one night, and I was talking to my wife, and she's like, "What's the matter?" And I just told her, I'm like, "There's got to be more to life than what I'm doing." And she got nervous, and she's like, "What are you talking about?" And so I just said, I understand everyone does the 9 to 5, but I want so much more than that. I want to hang out with people that have the same drive, the same passions, energy, that want to do something bigger than just the 9 to 5. And so I called 2 buddies of mine that we all went to Bryant University together, and they were like, "Dave, what do you want to do?" And I'm like, "I have no clue, but I'm sick of being in the circles where I am and being surrounded with people that are just satisfied, and not in a negative way, because that's totally fine. There are definitely people that need the 9 to 5 and that's what they want. And you need doers and people that get tasked on 100%. But when you do bigger things, and so for the last 6 years, I've served on the AICPA's Financial Literacy Commission, media interviews, TV, podcasts, talking about financial literacy. And so I've done that for the last 6 years. I've been on local boards. I've been on other national things. I've been on planning committees. I've spoken in Vegas. When you're doing that, it's hard to talk to people that aren't doing it because they don't understand the pressures, the stress, getting pulled in a million directions, being married, 2 young kids. It's a lot. And so then the Fountainhead kind of thing came out, and it was like, I just want to hang out with people that drive me selfishly to be a better version of myself every day. And so it was having coffee meetings with people. And when you're done with the coffee meeting, you're like, oh my God, I'm not doing enough. Like this person's doing all these incredible things. It keeps the passion, it keeps the fire lit. And a lot of people wanted to do that because now we're over 1,200 people all over the country. So it's been a really cool thing to kind of watch it grow. And just starting it, just wanted to hang out with cool people. Apparently a lot more people want to do that as well.
Yeah. It's so yeah, it's such a simple idea, but it's so awesome because, and a lot of times accounts are looked at as quiet folks, introvert, and you're really outspoken, and being able to do this while also speaking and talking about the profession is another avenue, right? It's just
Yeah.
folks think they're just an accountant, but no, you could start as an accountant, and then next thing you know, you're a spokesperson for your company, or you're teaching all communication skills, or you're the client-facing director of the company as things evolve and change. And this is a prime example of that. And
Yeah,
so,
well, the funny thing is I'm one of the most introverted people you ever meet, which is hilarious because that's not like I went to the community college of Rhode Island. So like my story is it's a long story, but basically I went to Bryant University my first year. I left. I went to CCRI played soccer for 2 years, kind of got mature, and then I went back to Bryant. So when I was at CCRI, they had a public speaking course, and I did everything humanly possible to get out of that course because it petrified me, like most people. And in 2014, like early 2014, late 2013, I basically sat down at a whiteboard and I said, where do I want to be 5, 10, 15 years down the road? And I wrote it on a board. And then I said, what is standing in between the person I am today and the person I want to be in the future? And it was public speaking. I had to get more comfortable doing that. And that was a challenge to myself. So I had a mantra. I had to say yes to anything that scared me. That happened in 2014. After that, I got into the AICPA's National Leadership Academy. I got put on the National Financial Literacy Commission. Within 2 weeks, they're like, you're the youngest person here. We need you on TV doing interviews. I'm like, no way. I'm not doing that. So I went home and I went to bed and I was like, it's now or never. Like, are you going to live this mantra, or are you just gonna talk?
wow.
And so I said yes. I did the TV interviews. The first one was horrible. I don't think it ever went on TV. I like blacked out in the middle of it, forgot everything. And then after that, it was all uphill. It was good. It was a great learning opportunity. It got me way outside my comfort zone. And basically every day now, I just try to do something different that's going to push me in a direction. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have gone.
No, that's huge. See, I'm the total opposite. That public speaking class, I'll be the first to sign up. You know what I mean? But never in my life was I like, I cannot wait to work for a company in India and work with accountants and help them staff in India. Like, I never said that at any point in my life, but here I am for 5 years. So you need to peel back what you want to do, right? And I was like, all right, I love to talk, I love to help, I love to coach, and I love to mentor, I love to guide. And the best part of all of that is the product or service that you're working with, having the client take part in that and seeing it successfully implemented. Holy cow, to me, that is just like why I exist, why I'm in this position, why I'm all in with this role, you know what I mean? And that takes time to figure out. And with you, with having this as a fear of, the speaking part, and that's being the one thing to hold me back. I mean, that's huge, right? I have many friends and colleagues who just don't like to public speak, right? Me, I'm the opposite. I love doing it, but I get why, they're nervous and they don't do anything about it. You know what I mean? And you actually did. So that's awesome.
Yeah, for me, like I've spoke before the pandemic, I spoke out in Vegas a couple times at like different conferences. And so you just put on a mask, you pretend it's something you love to do, you do it, and then I go back up to my room and it's like an energy drain. Like I just have to be by myself because it takes a lot to be an extrovert when you're an introvert. And so you just have to, and to your point, like a lot of people haven't done the self-reflection of what makes me happy, what's my purpose, what's my passion. And so they just move from job to job, or they stay in a job and they hate their lives because they've never taken the time to be with themselves to figure it out. And what worked for me was, like, I'm looking over here at my bookshelf, it's packed with books. And I've never been a reader, like ever. I hated reading, but it's because people made me read things I'm not passionate about. And so like last year, I read just shy of 40 books, which is probably collectively more than I've read like in my entire life. And so this year I'm in my master's program and I'm reading books on top of like all my master's coursework. And then the public speaking aspect works because what's the point of reading all these books if you just keep all the knowledge in your head? And so
knowledge,
so selfishly, it's more like it's an unselfish thing I'm trying to do. Is I don't like public speaking, but I'm
Right.
willing to do it because otherwise there's no point in reading all these books and learning and growing myself if I'm not going to share that with anyone.
Mhm. I love it. No, that's an awesome story. Now, so yourself, how do you think the profession as a whole, over the past, we'll say 5 years, and over the next 5 years, how have you seen it grown? Do you think it's grown for or made changes for the better? Do you see it progressively getting better? Do you see it kind of not things being implemented? Do you see it being stagnant? I mean, what are your thoughts of the profession 5 years ago and over the next 5 years?
Yeah, I think we've come a long way. And with my dad being a past chair and growing up in an accounting family, I was privy to a lot of conversations that probably other families don't have. You got a family of accountants, it's probably what you think, just interesting conversation around the dinner table. Everyone's at different firms, so it's kind of cool to come around Thanksgiving, Christmas, family dinners, and hear just within our family, like what's going on at the Big Four, what's going on at the AICPA and the national level, international level, what's going on at mid-sized to small firms, what's going on in the private world. So I've definitely learned a lot about, it's different everywhere you go. And so the
Yeah.
accounting profession has a lot of pros, they have a lot of cons, just like everything else, a lot of areas for improvement. The biggest one right now is just the transition from generation to generation. You got 10,000 baby boomers retiring every single day. Who's going to fill the void? Where Fountainhead kind of comes in is like, instead of being worried about the leadership transition, look at Disney today. Disney just came out and they got their old CEO back because the transition didn't go well. Obviously, the transition in place was not a great one. Starbucks, same thing. Howard Schultz had to come back to help. I think he's come back like 3 times. We need to do a better we need to do a better job in the transition, the sustainability of firms, of the talent, the pipelines. That's a big challenge. And like we were talking about before, it's a branding thing. I think we need to own our brand a lot better than we've done. And we need to make it a cool place to work. When you're a CPA, you're just not doing tax returns. That's what most people think. You go to a family cookout, everyone's asking you a million tax questions. And it's like, I'm in audit. I know enough to be dangerous on the tax side, but I'm not a tax accountant. I'm not a tax CPA. And so I think we need to do a better job of branding as to what exactly a CPA is and the million different things that you can do. You could be a CEO, you could be a CFO, you could own your own small business, you could like the CFO of the Detroit Red Wings, you could be the CEO of a Boston Celtics. I'm a Boston guy.
Yeah.
There's a million things that you can do, but everything, you could be the greatest dentist, you could be the greatest doctor. But if you don't have a business background, I guarantee you have a higher likelihood of your business going under. You need a business background. And if you don't have one, you've got to find a CPA that can help supplement your skills and expertise.
Yeah, spot on. I couldn't agree more. And I think that the profession was kind of forced into some of these remote virtual environments, and whether they love it or hate it, you have to embrace it, and it's all for the good when it boils down to it. And I mean, best example is I've spoken 5, 6, probably 6, 7,000 accounting firms over the last 5 years, and I used to spend 15 minutes talking about remote work as a concept, right? And trying to ingrain that. I don't do that anymore. I don't need to do that. The firms are prepared, right? So I think that they understand that change is constant, and it doesn't matter, because there's been instances where they've done the same thing for 40 years, but all of a sudden we're on a call today, right? So it's going to happen at some point. Are you ready for that? And are you ready to take the next step with an open mind? And if so, then your firm will absolutely be fine, and the talent will flock to you, right? And if you're not, well, it's going to be a little bit of a struggle, in my opinion, right? You got to be agile for sure. But there's so many, like you said, there's so many different things that you could do within accounting. I thought the same thing before I got into this role. I was like, what do you guys do besides tax returns? And now that I've worked in the industry for 5 years, I'm like, wow, this is a fascinating industry. There's so much going on. And absolutely, you brought a sports analogy in of what folks can do. And I bet you people don't realize that, but those are accountants. You got to start somewhere. So.
Yeah, it's on
All
us to kind of showcase your skills. So I mean, for me, like when people ask me to join the board, I will never join in a finance capacity because I do that all day long. So part of that's on us challenging organizations to be like, hey, I want to join as a general member. I want to give advice that's more than finance. I want to give operational future perspective, talking about talent management. That's where I want to be. I don't want to be talking about finances all day. That's literally what I do for a job. But that's on us to kind of push back and just say, I know what you're trying to do, but you got to get someone else for the finance role. I want general membership.
And so appreciate your time going over, kind of your experience. And again, congratulations on the 40 under 40 recognition. And any final thoughts before we wrap up today?
No, I mean, just thank you for having me. Appreciate it. Appreciate all you're doing. The last thing I'd say is there's a concept of 212 degrees. I don't know if you've ever heard that.
No.
So 200, at 211 degrees, you have hot water. It's something that it's a really good book my dad gave me. 211 degrees, you have hot water. At 212 degrees, you have boiling water. Boiling water creates steam. Steam can power a locomotive. And so the joke in our marriage is basically doing 212 degrees. It's called and some. So do your best and some. And if you do that each and every day, you will be light years ahead of the competition because most people aren't willing to do that extra. They're barely even willing to do the 211 degrees. And so we joke all the time, whether it's like you take the trash out and you just put it next to the garbage. It's like, is that 212 degrees? And then you kind of like have a little funny thing with your spouse. But that's a mantra that I've really tried to take to everything I do is do the very best that you possibly can do. And then just do a little bit more and try to teach more to other people.
Love it. Awesome. No, really appreciate your time this morning, sharing your insights. So for now, take care and thanks for your time. Be good. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Chris.